All right, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Welcome to a We Read the Documents subscriber live stream. Thank you for being a subscriber. I'm your host, John Brisson. God bless everyone who's listening. Today with me, I have S90 joining, and we're going to have a brief overview on the World Future Society. This will lead to more discussions of our almost 3-year long research into the World Future Society, which I have to thank fellow brother in Christ and my research partner. I have to give him credit for that. He is the man that I do a majority of my research with, and I'm highly appreciative of him, of that and his friendship and everything else. But this is us finally discuss the bulk of our research together, with S90 actually doing and going greater and farther than myself on the World Future Society. So I'm glad to finally have him on for us to discuss this. How are you doing today?
All right, doing okay. Thanks for having me on again, John. Let's
I'll,
tear into these guys.
always. I came across the World Future Society when I was writing about the finders. Marion Petty allegedly helped found the World Future Society with Edward Cornish. He was really good friends with Edward Cornish. Of course, the finders also have vast connections to the financier of the World Future Society, which is Barbara Marx Hubbard. And so that's when I had never heard about them. If it wasn't for me looking into the finders, I never would have. And so it ended up, making me go, okay, well, what's the World Future Society? Now, since I learned about them 6 odd years ago, more knowledge and researching, leads to kind of like a differing view of what they are. Okay. So today we're going to talk about kind of like their origins and what they represent. Okay. And you can see here, from, the top, the World Future Society, their website, awaken the futurist mindset in everyone in order to co-create new civilization systems. Wow, that's right out of Barbara Marx Hubbard's mouth, is it not, S90?
And it's something that shows up a lot more than I care to
So we
be
have
satisfied with.
so we have awaken, right? The Great Awakening, right?
Uh-huh.
The futurist mindset to co-create, so to be,
Mm-hmm.
to co-create with God, right? Which is impossible, right? Through Jesus Christ, all things were created. New civilization systems, so to bring in the New World Order or the beast system. They plainly state that's what they're going to do at the top of their
Mm-hmm.
website.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's the same as all these organizations. They do. They I don't like when people say, well, they have to tell you what they do before they do it. Why? Where does it say that in the Bible? Like what? Anyway.
It doesn't. Well, that's a way
Exactly.
that was a way for Ike to say that's what the externalization of the hierarchy is, because it has to do with
Mm-hmm.
karma, right? Like, we don't, as Christians,
Mm-hmm.
karma doesn't exist. It's a
Right.
silly notion, you know.
Yes.
And so, but in reality, when you read Alice Bailey, and we know that David Icke has read Alice Bailey and claims he's against Alice Bailey, but we know that's not true because he still espouses Alice Bailey, right? Even
Mm-hmm.
today. But he made it like that. Like, they have to tell us so that there's some sort of magical working to wash their karma away. When in reality, if you
Mm-hmm.
actually read Alice Bailey and her sterilization of the hierarchy, no. It's to initiate the world into the
Yes.
secrets of the evil of the
Yes.
current world order,
Yes.
the Black Lodge, so that they would be willing to accept the New
The
World
White
Order, which is the
Lodge.
Great White Lodge. That's what it's
Yes.
for.
And now that you've mentioned that, I wasn't gonna put this tidbit in this show. I'm gonna end this show with a quick quote from a book that's going to prove what you just said and discredit one of the many conspiracy figureheads who is a part of this. Because this I even did my own Freudian slip there. World Economic Forum. The World Future Society and the World Economic Forum are complete and utter polar
Yep.
opposites, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you've got Klaus Schwab, the suited man up on the stage giving the speech to the billionaires. You have the World Future Society, on the other hand, infecting the minds of the common people It's two different strategies from two different groups that, as we're going to see in a little bit here, believe completely opposite things, yet they are both, quote unquote, the elite, and they both work towards, quote unquote, a new world.
As the
It's the
harlot
same.
rides upon the beast, right, until the beast is done with the
Uh-huh.
harlot, right? You know?
Right, and then cast it off, and
Mhm.
then take the best from that, take whatever that system developed, technologies, facial recognition, all kinds of things, blockchain, money transfer, tracking, blah, 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 blah. All the technology that it has created. Oh, no, of course, that's going to stay, but it'll be in the hands of the good guys now, and you can trust it now.
And it'll be open source to the world, right? Through a libertine, as Days of Noah would talk about, and what we know from Andreessen and Horowitz, techno-optimism, right? Where you have the
Mm. Mm-hmm.
transhumanist dystopia of the World Economic Forum and Klaus Schwab looking like the Bond villain, and
Mm-hmm. The stick.
the transhumanist techno-optimist utopia of the World Future Society, right?
The
Technology,
carrots.
it could either be good or harmful depending on who wields it, and they say like a gun, right? And I
Yes.
understand the mindset. Okay, I get it. Okay, but there's a big difference between a gun and artificial intelligence.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. It's a slippery slope fallacy. There's all these logical fallacies that people always toss around. like they'd say, like if I said this, it's like, oh, a company makes robot arms to help amputees. Great, cool. Within 5 minutes, you'd have robot cops tearing people in half and kids on TikTok cutting their arms off to get robot arms. And people will say, oh, that's the slippery slope fallacy. That wouldn't really happen. No, it's exactly what would happen. We all know it.
Yeah,
We all
and
know
that's
it.
what they're going to push as being okay, the techno-optimist
Uh-huh.
future.
Yeah.
Transgender agenda bad, but it's okay when you're cutting off your arm to be augmented like a cyborg.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it always starts from a place of good. It always says, we're helping so-and-so group who needs it. And no one can say a thing because everybody wants that. But
Yeah.
then, it's always, but then. And nobody cares about the, but then this will happen. Oh man, it frustrates me, this future stuff.
Oh, it does very
Because
much so.
it claims to be coming from places of science and logic and reason, yet it has the worst new age, spiritual, ephemeral, just not real junk all over it, and all the logic that they use to promote it is fallacious in and of itself. And if you comment on that, then you're apparently having it's truly scientific madness.
Yeah,
If
very
if the
very much
world
so.
if the World Economic Forum is the depressing negative view of the world, then the World Future Society aims to be the positive, happy, optimistic, the robot will serve you your tea in the morning and you won't have to work anymore, right? It's almost the lazy, it's almost the lazy view, right?
Yeah,
But
that will live
that
in a
appeals.
utopia where you'll have everything you've
Yeah.
ever dreamed, free
Well,
energy, unlimited health, longevity,
yes,
you know.
that was the big thing. That was the big thing I was going to say. It's not that you will live in the future society, it's that you will live forever
Yep.
in the future society. And all of these things appeal to people. It's like, I don't know if you've ever seen a fisherman with multiple fisher lines on the same rod with like
Mhm.
4 or 5 hooks. It's like that. They're just casting out as many hooks as they can, knowing that one of these things is going to hook you. You say med beds to a person with cancer, you got them. You say free money to a lazy person, got them. You say unlimited life to someone who's scared of death, got them. It's so easy.
Yeah,
It's
and
psychological.
yeah, and just like we have, from God said from Jeremiah 17:9, the heart is deceitful above all things and desperately sick. Who can know it? I mean,
Mm.
obviously,
Well,
these
these
people
people.
want that, and at one time, we're not, casting stones. At one time, as a new ager, it's what my wicked heart wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody
Mm-hmm.
who's not born again, it's what they want. They don't desire the
Mm-hmm.
things of God. They desire the things of the flesh.
And
And
they desire it forever.
and they serve their
Mm-hmm.
father, the devil, ultimately. And so, look, I'm not saying that at one time that I did not espouse and push, the World Future Society and Theosophy, because at one time I sure did. But I realize now that it's evil. That it was one of the polemics that God showed me grace and knocked me out of it. Because I didn't, I thought I wasn't evil. I thought that I wasn't. Most people think they're good, right? And so I thought, I'm against the elite, but I wasn't really looking at what they were saying. I wasn't looking at what Alice Bailey was saying. I wasn't looking at what Blavatsky was saying. You know, and so I thought,
Mm-hmm.
well, they're just misguided. No. It could be farther
No,
from
they
the
know what they're
truth.
doing.
You
They
know.
know what they're doing.
So I mean,
And
that's the trap. So you're right. Satan says, "Oh, well, you're afraid of dying," instead of actually giving you the truth, which is believing in Jesus Christ for eternal life, right? So you're born again, and you no longer fear death. And so instead of that, oh well, you can live forever, or you want knowledge puffs up, right? Pride, right? Oh, you want to know everything?
mm-hmm.
Take the Neuralink.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is the
Mm-hmm.
World Future Society. It is a libertine society in which Satan knows the wicked heart of man and is saying, okay, I'm going to give you what you want. You want it?
And
Have it.
and you said a trio of interesting things. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to remember and keep up with all of this. For all of his flaws, Jay Dyer once did say, when God starts giving you everything you ask for, that's when you should be worried. And I got to agree with him on
Well,
that.
biblically, that's true. Yes, God chastises
Yes.
whom he loves. If you're not going through
Mm-hmm.
trials and tribulations to strengthen your faith in the Lord, you
Be
should be very
worried.
worried, very, very worried.
Yes. Yes.
Um,
Anyway, and the second thing you said was Blavatsky. I want to point out a lot of this futurist stuff draws from her in a way that, like if I go to our conspiracy Reddit, Above Top Secret, Godlike Productions, any of these conspiracy forums, and I just say like, is Blavatsky a good person? You'd get a million answers, people saying no, 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 no. But when you reword her thoughts and then you stuff them into a futurist manifesto, people don't see it. They don't know that they're suddenly following the person who they know is evil. And then I think what's going to happen is eventually, when the optimism starts actually panning out and things start happening, like there's better sources of energy or better medicine or whatever they're promising, people aren't going to care that it came from Blavatsky. And then just as the Bible says, like people are going to believe evil is good and good is evil.
Yeah, they're not
So
going to
that's
care.
a big, yeah, exactly. Once they have the medbed and the quantum financial Gesara books and all this stuff, they're not going to care anymore.
No.
And so when we get to that point, I'm sorry to say, a lot of these people are truly going to be lost.
Well, they'll take the mark. They're
they're
damned at that point.
Yeah.
Once you
Well,
fall, at that point, you can't quote unquote sell your soul to the devil right now, but when you take the mark,
you can.
You can.
Yeah. Exactly. So, okay. So we kind of teased that there's some Blavatskyan doctrine here in the World Future Society. We've kind of covered how if the World Economic Forum is preying on negativity and it's utilizing negativity as its statistics to promote itself, and the World Future Society is doing the exact opposite. They're the people going around saying there's not enough people on the planet. The planet can sustain 4 trillion people. Medbeds are coming. Just wait 2 more weeks and blah, 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 right? So just like the World Future Economic Forum preys on negativity, the World Future Society preys on optimism. And
so the World Economic Forum would be Malthusian, and the World Future Society would be anti-Malthusian. You have two dialectics going against each other.
Right, and I've seen everyone who's commented on the World Future Society thus far has incorrectly labeled them as Malthusian. The article, Barbara Malthusian Hubbard on David Icke's own website. This is incorrect. They are not Malthusian. Malthusianism is the belief that basically there would be too many people stacked one on top of each other for anyone to handle it all. I have to find the quote really quickly here. There was a fantastic article.
It's pretty much what the World Economic Forum drives with population control and carbon credits and you kind of like
Limiting,
your
limiting growth.
yeah, kind of like your standard depopulation belief, right?
Hmm.
And then you
And
have anti-Malthusianism, which would be natalism, which is what Elon Musk. They need guinea pigs, they need people.
mhm,
Humans can solve it. Human potential.
yes. And so the World Future Society is not a Malthusian. And I have an article here. I don't have the author's name offhand right now. It's from JSTOR, and it's an article called World Politics. And this person comments on the Club of Rome, the limits to growth, and Malthusianism, as well as Barbara Marx Hubbard, or Marxism, sorry. And so the author says, quote, "The fact that the authors of The Limits of Growth treat populations separately make them Malthusians only in the most superficial sense. Unlike Malthus, they define population growth as having analytically separate but not substantively autonomous components. Limits acknowledges that, taken separately, growing material stocks I've skipped a page here in my quote, sorry. So it says, again on the surface, the projection of uncontrollable overshoot seems to evoke a Malthusian label from the limits to growth that everyone's familiar with. According to Malthus, however, population growth simply proceeded towards disaster because nothing could be done about it. Because nothing could be done about it. In limits, according to the theory, corrective responses set in motion mean something could be done about it. So even the Club of Rome, with their limits to growth, theoretically speaking here, are not Malthusians either. The critics to the limits of growth use Malthus's name as an epithet. The authors of Limits are no wiser in appearing to find support in Malthus. In fact, the nature of their model, they are actually closer to Marx. Insofar as Marxian thought, salvation comes in the form of revolution. The dilemma for the Limits to Growth team and the Club of Rome was to find a liberal equivalent of revolution, or to suffer rejection as Malthusian pessimists. So this was about the Club of Rome. And what we find with the Club of Rome and the Limits to Growth, the Limits to Growth article that was written caused quite a lot of defection in the Club of Rome. They don't talk about that, do they? I don't hear that in conspiracy circles.
And you also have members of the World Future Society joining the Club of Rome because they go back and forth, right? Barbara Marx Hubbard, for example.
Well, they did for a while.
Yeah,
And then they disassociated themselves completely with it.
exactly.
So
Yes.
there are two. Well, actually, there's three notable individuals here that fit this profile. Barbara Marx Hubbard, obviously, a gentleman called Ervin Laszlo, Ervin Laszlo, Laszlo. So Ervin Laszlo was in the Club of Rome. He was in the World Economic Forum and the World Future Society, despite their opposing beliefs. And he actually wrote part of the Club of Rome Limits to Growth model. And after he wrote that, he quit. He quit. One of the elite quit. Isn't that cool? He must be our hero, our friend, right? He's against them. He's against the World Economic Forum, the bad guys. And same with Barbara Marx Hubbard. And funnily enough, same with one of the three founders of the World Economic Forum. So here I want to get into the origin really quickly here. Everyone has articles on the origin of the World Economic Forum. I've got one here from Unlimited Hangout from Johnny Vedmore, Vedmore, from March 10th, 2022. And it's Dr. Klaus Schwab, or How the CFR Taught Me to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. So we got a Dr. Strangelove reference in there, right at the start here. And the first paragraph is, the World Economic Forum wasn't simply the brainchild of Klaus Schwab. He was actually born out of the CIA-funded Harvard program headed by Henry Kissinger and pushed to fruition by John Kenneth Galbraith and the real Dr. Strangelove, Herman Kahn. So, to make a long story short here, yes, Herman Kahn, John Kenneth Galbraith, and Kissinger basically envisioned the World Economic Forum and essentially groomed Klaus for the job. And I'm not overusing that term there.
No, they straight up did.
They straight up groomed Klaus for this job. And then John Kenneth Galbraith gave the first keynote speech at the first World Economic Forum.
And he's an economist, right? Galbraith is.
Yes. And Herman Kahn was a futurist and a nuclear, I believe he was a nuclear scientist. And we all know Kissinger, the walking skeleton. Anyway, shortly after this, Herman Kahn, one of the three founders of the World Economic Forum, also quit. And he ran away to the World Future Society because the pessimism of the World Economic Forum bothered him. That's a big deal. One of the three founders of the World Economic Forum betrayed him. He must be our guy, right, John? Right? He's our guy. Irvin Laszlo's our guy. These guys hate them. Well, all these articles about the origin of the World Economic Forum and Galbraith and Kahn and Kissinger, they don't talk about this. They don't talk about the World Future Society. So I can close these articles from Johnny Vedmore and Medium, and they're not going to tell me what Herman Kahn did afterwards.
And I guess in Herman Kahn, to give a little bit of background on him, he comes from a Jewish family. He was born in New Jersey. He would join in the Rand Corporation, the major think tank, and as a mathematician, and then would later help fund the think tank, the Hudson Institute, which is kind of like a conservative libertarian think tank, right?
And the Hudson Institute has links to the CMP, I believe.
Very much so, yes. And later on, yes. And then
after Kahn.
Yes, and then so Kahn actually is where Stanley Kubrick, World Future Society member Stanley Kubrick, gets the idea for Dr. Strangelove. Yes, with Edward Teller, CMP Edward Teller, right? Teller's boys. Okay, he ran supposedly, allegedly, his own blackmail ring in Hollywood. Okay, and John Newman. All three of them together was Stanley Kubrick's inspiration for Dr. Strangelove, okay? And so, look, Herman Kahn is not our guy in the slightest bit, period.
But John, he betrayed the World Economic Forum.
Yeah.
That's the only bad guy. Those are the only bad guys, right?
Only to help set up the World Future Society.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so, all right. Yeah, you're right on that. I guess I was wrong. He's not our guy. Gosh, how could I get taken in by these shills every time?
Yeah, well...
Jeez.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, no, sorry, that's everyone else.
Well, okay. Hey, we were on
Moving on.
Hold on, real quick. I was on a recent... Well, I wasn't on. I was listening to a recent space with Scientologist Grant Cardone where they were discussing the newest, tensions between America and Iran. And like I showed you, sure enough, this New Age futurist showed up for a brief moment because they started all of a sudden in the middle where they're talking about war, right? They start talking about the debt, which I guess you could conflate the two, right? The military-industrial complex and the debt, okay, and another war. I understand that, okay. But then they start talking about they start directing people to the Debt Clock website with Durst, okay? And then all of a sudden, this futurist, and S90 was witness to this. He looked it up when I showed him, okay? Shows up and all of a sudden starts praising Herman Kahn and posting articles to his work that he's our guy. And when you went to her Twitter page, it was nothing about how bad and evil and wicked the World Economic Forum is. And look, we're not here to say that they're not, okay, as part of the Heartland.
They are.
All right?
They
are. But the problem is Satan's solution as the angel of light, the World Future Society, is evil too. I would argue worse.
This is interesting, and I want to bring this up because it fits really quickly. And shout out to Jimmy Jean. Love you, brother. Hope you're doing all right. And Jimmy had an interesting show a couple of weeks, maybe a month ago, and he was talking about a hat, and it has those built-in sensors to read your thoughts or whatever. And so it's just a hat. You just put it on your head. And Jimmy was saying that the disgusting idea of the Neuralink drilling holes into your skull and flipping back a flap of your head and putting something in that's the stick to make the carrot more appealing. So when the hat comes out, everybody's like, oh, I'll just get the hat, right? And that's the same. The World Future Society is the carrot, and the World Economic Forum is the person with the stick chasing you, saying, I'm going to depopulate you. And the World Future Society is the person who's going to stand up and say, that's not necessary, sir. We have med beds and quantum financial money. And everyone will love it. And everyone will buy into it.
Because right here it
And
says,
so that's why we're here. That's why we're here warning people about the World Future Society.
yep.
Because there's a lot of people running around right now. I don't know, Mr. Ramaswamy, Mr. Musk, Mr. Jones, running around screaming, Team Humanity, Team Future, the technology's good, just the people in charge are bad. Well, that's just the World Economic Forum. That's what they're saying. They're saying, like, if we go and I didn't plan the show properly. I apologize to everyone listening.
It's okay. It's just
there's
a brief overview.
Yeah, like some of the World Future Society literature literally talks about the elite the way we do. They say
Oh, yes.
the elite are controlling all the money and all the medicine, and it's all poison and it's terrible. And these are supposed professionals in suits, university professors, economists, diplomats, scientists, and
Heads
they
of government.
sound, yeah, and they whine and they cry like babies about the World Economic Forum, and that makes them attractive to the growing segment of the population that is becoming anti-establishment. I've long described conspiracy theory as a zombie apocalypse. Because once you're turned, you're not going back. And you turn into a zombie, and then you basically are going around biting every other one else you see, turning them into zombies too, and there's no cure. Soon we're just going to be a planet of all tinfoil zombies running around screaming, oh, World Economic Forum bad, bro.
Externalization of the hierarchy.
While the World Future Society pumps theosophy into our brains under the guise of technology. And I find it interesting, too, that reading the Masons call themselves the children of Cain, the sons of Cain, blah, blah, blah. And they always seem to equate themselves with all invention. They always say, oh, all invention came from the sons of Cain, metalworking, jewelry, papyrus, paper, writing, thought, just everything. Well, are we literally saying science is of the devil at this point? I'm probably one of the last people in the world who wants or would ever have thought to say that. Kind of looking in a way that technology will be what the devil uses to cause our downfall at the very least. A lot of the scientists who invented, atom bombs and computers and all this other dumb stuff say they I got inspired by an angel at my window and blah, blah, blah. It's a lot of coincidence here, man, and, kind of concerning.
No,
So
I know. I mean, you're right. I mean,
I'm just taking them at their own word. They say we're the children of Cain and we created all invention. Okay, cool. So
and that's what the World Future Society says. They don't say that we're the children
technology.
of Cain.
Yeah, but they say technology is the way to our future.
Well, yeah, they say we developed it as well. I mean, right here. Founded in 1966, the World Future Society is recognized as the largest, most influential, and longest-running community of future thinkers in the world. World Future Society members established the foundations of future thinking as we understand it today. Historical members and contributors include legendary minds such as Carl Sagan, Buckminster Fuller, Alvin Toffler, Herman Kahn, Peter Drucker, Arthur C. Clarke, Gene Roddenberry, and Margaret Mead. And then they have...
Pause.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. I was just going to say, and that's how they do that. That's how they shape I don't know the exact quote you just said. It was something like, we shape the dream of the future. They did it through science fiction literature.
Oh, yeah, and I wrote here...
everyone. This makes me mad. I'm telling you straight up right now, if you hear my words, every major science fiction author, Arthur C. Clarke, Robert Heinlein, Frank Herbert of Dune,
Gene Roddenberry.
Asimov, Gene Roddenberry, every single science fiction pusher was part of this. Yep. I can't find one who wasn't. Down to the dude, okay, literally, Greg Bear and his wife, Elizabeth Bear, these are the people who write the Halo video game novels. Okay, they were in this. You can't have a video game novel without these people being involved.
The only one is Kurt Vonnegut. That's the only one that wrote Player Piano and Slaughterhouse-5 because he's against futurism. Now, I'm not saying he's our guy. He wasn't a board-again Christian. But he wrote a book where literally Kevorkian keeps putting him in the process of life and death, and he sees Isaac Asimov in hell, and Isaac Asimov's a pedophile. in his book. You take that for what you will, okay?
All right,
But we
Kurt.
know that's
+1
true.
for Kurt.
We know that's true because of Malcolm Willis McConaughey, also known as Adam Aristotle Starchild. We know that Asimov was part of the North Fox Island pedophile ring.
That was
all right?
insane, dude.
So,
When you sent that to me, I couldn't believe it.
I mean,
believe
shout out to
that.
George from CavDev.org. But like, look, Vonnegut knew. Vonnegut knew, and not only did Vonnegut knew,
I didn't like it.
he said he knew. All right, so
Yes.
it is what it is, man. It is what it is.
Another name that's not on that list, the only other name that's not on that list, and that's because he was basically born too early for it, is H.G. Wells. H.G. Wells was actually in Cecil Rhodes' roundtable groups, and if you look at H.G. and this is just, I just want to point this out. When it was Cecil Rhodes and kind of the Marxist oriented future, science fiction was very negative. Like H.G. Wells' work and Jules Verne, like Mary Shelley's Frankenstein and stuff like this, right? It was very negative futurism. But then all of a sudden, all of the authors joined the optimist world future society, and suddenly the future is sparkling steel and glass and robots and flying cars and other worlds. You can see the transition of science fiction from a thing to be feared to a thing to be worshipped. And it happens because all the authors joined the World Future Society.
I mean, here.
And the associated groups, there's plenty, there's dozens, hundreds, probably thousands of groups around the World Future Society that, 10 people from the one group are a member in another, and there's a lot of cross-pollination so that you can kind of have like plausible deniability, you could have Congress invite the World Future Society to give a testimony or whatever, or, before the panel of senators.
They have. The World Future Society has briefed Congress.
And then the next guest they have up is also World Future Society, but they come under the banner of the Future World Society, let's call it, right? And it appears as if they are different, but they are not.
No.
Right. And so it gives them plausible deniability to basically, they get to put 2 witnesses on the stand every time. It's really cheap. It's business. It's sharp business tactics, man. I can't blame people for wanting to get ahead and wanting to win, but I don't want to let them win. These people are messed up. And the more you read of their writing, the more you're going to realize that the future they want for us is not the future that they paint in their science fiction books. That's the bait. The hook is going to be very violent and very painful, and it's going to end up, people rail on the World Economic Forum saying you will eat the bugs and you will live in the pod. You're going to do that under the World Future Society.
Oh, yeah,
too.
you are.
Just saying.
Yes. And so I wrote, I believe the World Future Society is an elitist, globalist, new age, transhumanist think tank. Many members of the World Future Society help to manipulate how we perceive the current world around us and our collective visions of the future. People within the World Future Society steer our beliefs about science and science fiction within our culture. For example, the work of Stanley Kubrick, Arthur C. Clarke, Isaac Asimov, Ray Bradbury, and Gene Roddenberry have manipulated many people's beliefs about science fiction and futurism even to this very day. Millions of people are diehard Star Trek fans, Trekkies. Gene Roddenberry's work influenced their beliefs and visions of our future. Roddenberry was a secular humanist, and his humanist beliefs were reflected in his television series Star Trek. Roddenberry felt very strongly that contemporary Earth religions would be gone by the 23rd century. Roddenberry made it known to the writers of Star Trek and the Star Trek The Next Generation that religion, superstition, and mystical thinking were not to be included. Finally, Margaret Mead, Neil deGrasse Tyson, Buckminster Fuller, Carl Sagan, B.F. Skinner, Glenn T. Seaborg, Ben Goertzel, Abraham Maslow, and Ray Kurzweil are all scientists that heavily influence our modern scientific beliefs. Neil deGrasse Tyson is the current representative of science TM within our modern culture. Tyson holds multiple shows, including Cosmos, a Space-Time Odyssey, and appears as a distinguished scientist and expert on many news programs and late-night talk shows. Tyson sadly influences numerous modern opinions about science in our world. For example, Tyson wants to expand the operations of NASA, which Tyson states that NASA is the most powerful agency on the dreams of a nation. He's against biblical intelligent design. However, Tyson does push the neo-Gnostic theory that we live in a simulation. He is a proponent of Darwinian evolution. And finally, he is an advocate of transhumanism. All right? So they shaped all of our collective modern views of the future. Okay.
in the 60s and 70s with science fiction.
Yes. And then you have on their
Plain and
website,
simple.
they post the emoji of a person flexing, which is a strong man, right? And so the reference of the strong man in the Bible is Satan, right? We're the World Future Society believe that we're experiencing a turning point in our civilization, and going back to the status quo. Status quo is unacceptable. Okay, so you have the
Hmm.
turning point, the
A
pivot
new
point,
normal.
the singularity. Okay,
Mm.
we believe that our organization must play a vital role in developing the new systems that will be required. If you believe in this, please join us and help us co-create an architect, Masonic, Freemasonic, right? Design a better
Hmm.
future and a better world. As we know, Barbara Marx
Excuse
Hubbard
me.
says, "Oh, the Bible's wrong. It doesn't have to go like God says it's going to happen." As far as the end times and tribulation and revelation, no, 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 no. We can
We can change
stop that
that.
from happening,
Hmm.
because John, according to her, the Apostle John was just a mystic who was just him and Paul were just. And Alex Jones recently said this. They were
Hmm.
just mystic diviners that were just black pilled. Okay, not that they were getting direct revelation from God, which they were, but they were just black pilled mystics that
It's
saw
boiled down.
the worst possible outcome. And what all the theosophical people say, Reagan, Stone, Flynn, the coming
Mhm.
1,000 years of darkness. Now we know is instead the 1,000-year reign of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ.
But they perceive it as darkness.
Very much so, yes.
Yeah, and that should reveal enough to anyone listening who, has a brain, that something's weird here. At least something is up with this World Future Society and these people around it. The anti-elitist establishment, I don't want to say it's been hijacked, because it was created for this exact purpose. It was never organic from the beginning. Like, yes, you, individual listening to me, hearing my voice, your awakening, your desire to do good in this world and to stop bad, yeah, that's organic. But the movement that sucked you in, that put out the evidence that made you the way you are, is not who you think it is. Conspiracy is the conspiracy.
Yes.
The only way you tear down the old world is by reducing trust in it. And that's what conspiracy does.
The destructions of the institutions.
Yes. So I have a quote here. This is from Edward Cornish's own Medium. I'm surprised the guy has a Medium, just gonna be honest. Oh, sorry, no, this is the World Future Society Medium. My bad. Anyway, but it's by Edward Cornish. So I just have a real quick quote here. He says, other early members included well-known science fiction writers such as Ray Bradbury, Isaac Asimov, Frederick Pohl, and Robert Heinlein. Arthur C. Clarke not only joined, but sent in a membership for Stanley Kubrick, the producer and director of 2001: A Space Odyssey. So Kubrick never joined. Clarke joined Kubrick for him.
No. He joined. I have the evidence.
Clarke.
I have the evidence that Kubrick did join.
Okay. Well, I haven't seen that because I'm literally got the World Future Society written by Edward Cornish right here saying Arthur C. Clarke bought Kubrick's membership for him. And then he also goes on to say that Gene Roddenberry, creator of Star Trek, also signed up and gave gift subscriptions to Leonard Nimoy.
Yeah, and Leonard Nimoy joined and spoke at a World Future Society conference as well, too.
Yeah, so so I'm not saying people didn't join and like it, but some of these people did not walk in and sign up on their own. They were signed up by someone they trust.
No, that is true. I believe that Kubrick.
I just want to be fair. I
believe that Kubrick. You're right. That Arthur C. Clarke got Kubrick on board, but Kubrick was a member of the World Future Society, and he did attend conferences of the World Future Society.
It's not like he went in and said, "This isn't for me," and left.
True. Yes.
Right? So, but that's how they get you, man. This is how they get you. They get you in. And once you're in, then they can work on you, right? And after a couple years, you aren't the same, So, how much time do we have left?
About maybe 10 minutes.
Okay. Well, let me just really quickly then go on to this book quote I wanted to read. If I can find it. Oh, right. Yeah, there it is. Okay. So on Amazon, I'm gonna I already have this archived, so if anyone tries to get it deleted, too late. I sent you an Amazon link just for you to pull up.
Okay.
This book is called For the Children. And it's March 3rd, 2016.
Oh, dear Lord, will someone think of the children?
Yeah, and it says by Susan Babcock and Craig R. Babcock, contributor, and then a third name that people should recognize.
I do.
Do people recognize? Do you want to bring up a photo of her just so because people don't know her name, they know her face?
Okay, sure.
Just bring up a picture of her face. And I don't think we'll need to give people much more than that. Oh, you want me to grab it for you?
I got it. There you go.
Oh, okay.
All right, I put it up. All right, I posted it. I posted, the Google image of Carol Rosin. So go ahead and let's talk about Carol Rosin for a minute. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry. I was watching the stream and I was just waiting for her face to come up so that it's all timed.
It's up.
There we go. Okay, cool. Okay, so, yeah, you all recognize her, right? Oh, look, there's For the Children right there, so you know I'm not kidding. Okay, so back to For the Children real quick. So this is a book written by Susan Babcock with foreword by Carol Sue Rosen. And if we look at it, this is basically a biography of Carol written by her friend. Okay?
Okay.
And if we scroll down, it'll give us, if we click on the image and it'll say read sample, we can just read a little bit of this book.
Okay.
And most of it's pointless, so we can scroll past the first 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pages here, past into chapter 1.
Whoa, here's something. We dedicate the book to all the world's children, especially all the orphans. Innocent children are the victims of disease, of war, and conflict from which we all need a cure. The ancient mysteries had the remedy, and because the children are our future, perhaps we need to revisit this cure.
That is what I was looking for. Thank you. The innocent children are the victims of disease and war and conflict that they need a cure. The ancient mysteries had the remedy. Oh, what does this mean, I wonder? Further down, she mentions the mysteries again, and she mentions initiating people into the mysteries. Let's see, why is it not? Oh, right.
And she's bringing up Jesus in the first chapter.
Here we go. Page XI, so page 11. First, we would like to thank Carol for trusting us with the honor of recounting her journey. We would also like to thank Carol's husband, John Cypher. He's an actor. You can go look him up, Cypher. Lastly, and so this is the foreword. This is Susan Babcock, and she's writing a biography of Carol Rosen. And she says, there's another group of individuals we want to thank. These are the many people mentioned in the book, mostly anonymously, who we have crossed paths with in our journeys. What we have come to understand is that each and every one of you has helped guide us to the valuable information that we share in this book. Sometimes our associations were distressing, and though we were and we thought this was due to incompatibility, now, through the ancient mystery teachings we can apply today, we know and see differently through the illusion of separation. Okay.
And then Carol, I guess on chapter 1, real quick, I want to mention, Susan Babcock and Carol Rosin are saying that their beliefs are pretty much one, and she's talking about predestination and reincarnation. Common new age beliefs that you agreed to everything that's going to happen into your life, before you were born. So if you were raped or molested, let's say you were molested by your uncles,
you agreed to it.
Yes, you agreed
prior to
with the person so that you can learn something from
it.
Experience.
Right. So, really quickly, this book preview ends on page 59 here. We only get 3 or 4 pages to look at. Go on the top right-hand side. There's the magnifying glass for search. Type in the word mysteries and see how many times it will pull up every page, including the ones that are not a part of the preview.
63 results.
Yeah, and just look at some of these, right? Again, applying the mysteries, we find the key to the answer. Page 454, people being inspired
My life
to put the
experience
mysteries into their
explains the
creations.
Yeah.
She is Carol Rosen, the secretary of Werner von Braun, who told her, the alien card, they're going to play the alien card. She is an elitist who is initiating you into the mysteries. Everything Conspiracy Land has taught me is that that is bad. Why do we listen to her and follow her and trust anything that comes out of her mouth?
About Werner von
She is
Braun
a
or about
liar
anything. Yep.
about anything. She is a liar. She's a phony. She
She's
is
a
not a
deceiver.
hero.
Nope.
She's a deceiver. And what's worse, John, is that of all the names of the people in Conspiracy Land that I have dragged into this, there are a lot.
Yeah.
I'm talking 25 to 50% of Conspiracy Land is beholden to the World Future Society.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
She is one of the biggest. Even though she seems like she's not, and she doesn't show up in Conspiracy Land except for that one time when it's like, oh, we gotta play the Werner von Braun card clip. She is essentially third deepest in this after Barbara Marx Hubbard and Irvin Laszlo.
We'll get to her. I mean, right here we have Carol Rosin, one of Buckminster Fuller's dear friends. You know, Carol's favorite experience with Bucky was playing his world peace game designed to make the world work for 100% of humanity in the shortest possible time. The goal was to create peace on Earth and in space. Bucky inspired Carol, who later wrote a peace and speech treaty along astronaut Edgar Mitchell, founder of the Institute of Noetic Sciences, to prevent the use of space-based weapons. I had the pleasure of working with Carol to have the treaty translated to many languages and submitted to the United Nations. The treaty was accepted by a majority of the countries, including Russia and China, but the United States refused to sign. And this is what's interesting, and I'm going to leave it here, okay? Gorbachev, member of the World Future Society and former leader of the USSR, Mikhail Gorbachev, okay, who was a New Ager and a futurist, okay, that was the trap. Carol Rosin could care crap less about there being space-based weapons. And the same with Edgar Mitchell. It was getting everybody else on board so the United States had, quote-unquote, rods from God.
Yeah, Hughes Satellite Company. And so it's funny that you mentioned that. Actually, I have two things. I was going to bring up an example of a guest that John B. Wells, who used to be on Coast to Coast AM, he had on Dr. Richard Allen Miller a couple of weeks ago. And Richard Allen Miller talks about, he mentions being friends with Edgar Mitchell and, you know, all this good stuff. And he also mentions later, he says, oh yeah, I live down the street from Carol and I'm close friends with Carol Rosin and her husband, John Cipher. So another noetic. It's funny how many of these people, quote unquote, live down the street from each other.
Exactly, and how much that
how they all know each other.
Dr. Richard Allen Miller's push New Age thought, you know, with his wife Iona Miller, both members of the Mankind Research Unlimited, and Iona Miller, you know, being involved with, you know, and Richard Allen Miller being involved with Thomas Schoenberger and the QAnon operation.
Exactly. And then you also mentioned he mentioned someone else, and it went back to John B. Wells again. I had something else for John B. Wells. I forgot what it was now. Shoot, what was it? Oh right, yeah. There was a guest that John B. Wells had on recent. Oh right, yeah. It's Mary Fanning. It's his show producer and the handler who always shows up on his show with Colonel McInerney. So Mary Fanning was on there talking about how Hunt for Red October was real and Tom Clancy was a genius. CMP Tom Clancy. CMP John B. Wells. Anyway, so Mary Fanning was on there talking about Hunt for Red October was real and the Soviets were going to nuke Pearl Harbor. Rogue KGB agents were going to nuke Pearl Harbor with a stolen submarine. And then she goes on later and she calls, where was the exact quote? I have it here. She says, I said, the guest is calling Howard Hughes a great American, a billionaire who put his money where his mouth was. Yeah, because he made the rods from God for you guys.
Yep.
Anyway.
I mean, that's why you had Albert Dula, World Future Society member and space lawyer, right? What could the United States get away with putting in low Earth orbit? What
Yes.
could they get away with
Yes.
putting in low Earth orbit?
Legalese. I didn't say I wouldn't put tungsten rods. I said I wouldn't put weapons.
It's
Right?
so dirty. So what could they
It's
put in low
pathetic.
Earth
It's
orbit
pathetic.
for space, quote unquote, space-based weapons?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
everybody signs on with the tree but America. And you tell
And then
me, come
and
on.
don't forget and everyone seems to have forgotten about the X-37B, that stupid mini space shuttle unmanned drone thing that was in space for 2 years or whatever and can carry a MIRV warhead or whatever,
So
What a joke.
we're definitely going to do more shows on the World Future Society. This is only just a brief overview.
This is just how they started.
We have hours upon hours upon hours upon hours upon hours upon hours upon hours
It's
upon hours of research.
Yeah, it has to be boiled down. This is the thing. Nobody's going to be sitting around for 90 hours of this.
No.
And, and I understand that, we waffle a bit. You know, we're trying to condense down. Like, literally, guys, I don't know how to describe this. It's like we've all been walking around in conspiracy land. Think of Disneyland, but it's conspiracy. Instead of Mickey Mouse, there's David Icke. Goofy, it's Alex Jones. The rides are. I'm gonna go on the World Economic Forum is scary log drop
Bilderberg
ride. Yeah, I'm gonna go on the Bilderberg, the Tower of Bilderberg roller coaster. What John and I have basically found is that there's a door, just kind of chilling there, and if you walk through it, there's a second amusement park on the other side, and it's where it's like where you see Goofy taking his head off and it's Alex Jones underneath, and then your kid cries because they're like, it's not Goofy. That's what this is. This is the staff side of Disneyland, where all the work is actually being done, and all the people that we see up front, the Klauses and the World Economic Forum, that is the set dressing meant to scare you. That is the people in their costumes doing their job, so you don't see the dude working the ride, right? You're distracted by all the fancy animatronic dancing dogs and cats. Someone's operating that ride. That's the World Future Society.
So
they operate conspiracy land. As far as I can tell, dog, they created this.
In the modern time, Alice Bailey and Blavatsky did before them, and ultimately Satan, and ultimately above that, God sends him a grand illusion, and that's what this is.
Yes, and so like from the 60s onwards, these are basically the people who have manipulated not only our view of the future, the positive, optimistic view we have of the future, what we want from the future, they're also running the other side where it's like the side that we clearly don't want.
And both are wicked and evil.
The World Economic Forum, as far as I can see, dude, the World Economic Forum dances to the World Future Society's tune and is doing exactly what it wants. Even if it's unintentional, even if every time Klaus gets up there and he says, you will own nothing, we're all going to die if you don't die first. If even if he doesn't know that every time he does that, he's breeding more enemies for himself, but he's breeding more allies for the World Future Society. So he's playing his role perfectly fine. And the people who are buying into it, I can't blame them. It's the same way that the people who took the thing, the Michelle Pfeiffer from a couple of years ago there, to stop your cough, people bought into propaganda and made their choice based on what they saw, and I can't hate them for that. But when you point out the truth to them, if they shut their ears and don't listen, then I have nothing for you.
Move on to someone else. Don't cash your pearls.
Yes, move on to the next. Exactly.
And the only way to leave the amusement park is become born again and believe that Jesus Christ is the Messiah. That's truly the only way to leave.
I'm sorry to say, man. I don't want to. I never wanted this to be my life. For real. I found Alex Jones Endgame by accident. I was looking for a video game on YouTube, and I found Alex Jones instead. And I never thought this was going to be my life. And like you said, it's like the only way out of conspiracy land is God. It truly is, to just realize that it might be out of your hands, but you're still in control of your own soul. And no one can take that away from you. And the only reason I'm still wandering around this dumpy amusement park, conspiracy land, and, sneaking into the back rooms to take a look at the operators, somebody's got to do something. Like, somebody's got to write this down, expose this, go to the conspiracy people and say, hey, look, there's this other group that's just like the one you hate. And I'll finish up on this then really quickly. Wrap it up with this. This will be the bow on top. Everyone hates the World Economic Forum because it's like, oh, they're going to depopulate us. They're pessimists. And the World Future Society is going to come to people and say, like, oh, we don't have to depopulate people. There's the technology is there for everyone to live. And so everyone will say, okay, fine, I'm with you then. But then you read the Revelation by Barbara Marx Hubbard, and she says that 1/4 of all humanity are bad seeds who must be eliminated. And you realize that, like, they're both about depopulation. And in both cases, whether it's the World Economic Forum or the World Future Society, people like you, listener, people like me and John, we are the ones who get depopulated either way.
Yes, the Christians will be eliminated, and that's what they pity about.
They love that. And so I'm just saying, dude, like, the people who buy into this World Future Society, when it comes up, they're going to take the mark, whatever that is, whether it's, a chip in your hand or a phone or a hat you wear that reads your thoughts, or Neuralink. Going back to what we said earlier, it doesn't matter what the mark is. The fact is, people are going to take it because they will choose optimism over pessimism. Simple human nature.
They will choose comfort over judgment.
And convenience over hard work.
Yep.
All these things that we've seen.
And ultimately, they'll choose themselves and Satan over God.
They will choose, and they will believe that evil is good and good is evil. And that's that. And so, when it's just like how people blame that one letter of the alphabet that I won't say so we don't get our show destroyed here, but, trust. They're trying to earn your trust. They're trying to steal your trust. They're telling you what you want to hear. They're going after the people you don't like. They have a knife behind their back for you. When you're done with their enemies, they're coming for you next.
Yep, the 17th letter of the alphabet. And,
that one, yeah.
And that's the thing is that's why we're doing this. That's why we've done this research. That's why we're presenting it, is because there is a way out, and it's believing Jesus Christ is the Messiah and trusting upon God. And that's the only way out. And Jesus Christ is the only Messiah, and he's the only one who can save. And the time is short, and eventually the delusion that God gives the world is going to be so thick that it's going to be, it already
possible
is
to
extremely diminishable returns as far as who becomes born again, sadly.
Who realizes that they're being lied to, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and like you and I are Christians, yes, but a lot of people who are listening may not be, and so that may not do anything for them in their mind. But the point is, whether or not you're a Christian or not, you're going to be lied to by these people.
Yep, and if you want the truth, the Bible has it, and it's right there in plain sight. And you can deny it all you want to. I denied it for the longest time. It took me a year almost. I was denying it from 2018 to 2019. There's no way I could be wrong, but you have to humble yourself. God accepts a broken and contrite heart. Okay, and the events foretold in Revelation will play out, and they are playing out, and this is where we're at. So,
to a lot of, I've never really discussed what changed my mind about God, but coming from a very fact and material based point of view beforehand, like, I was going to university to be a scientist and stuff. If you, as an atheist out there, whoever's listening, John may chastise me for this, but let me say it's being disrespectful to God. Initially, I thought of it like an experiment, and if you just Like, I know it says you do not put your Lord thy God to the test, but I wasn't a Christian then. And I did. And, I found enough evidence to convince someone who was completely materialistic and quote-unquote logical to change my mind. So I'm just saying, if you're an atheist out there and you have any curiosity about whether or not God's real,
Yeah.
just treat it like an experiment and you'll find your answer.
Well, just open up the Bible and look for the truth. I mean, God shows his grace by
Yes.
what's his written, by people preaching the gospel, by polemics and apologetics.
I
And no one
only
on their
said that.
own searches after God, but
No.
God knows whom will choose him, and God will make sure that that person is saved. If that person is their name is forever forever supposed to be in the book of life, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And so I
And
wasn't
so
on
I'm
my
just,
own, and just like you weren't on your own, just searching for God. It just wasn't there.
mhm.
But we
No,
were
no.
open to the truth, and God
Yes.
gave us a way. And by his grace,
And
through our faith, we were saved.
and I'm just saying that even to the most ardent science believer, the most concrete reality, you can find evidence of God even in
Oh,
that.
very much so. It's written upon his creation.
But from the point of view of simply not knowing. Anyway, I'm kind of waffling at this
But
point. I'm just saying.
I gotta go.
Yeah,
We'll definitely have you
gotta
back
go.
on S90. God bless everybody. I will be
God bless.
posting this soon, and look into the World Future Society if you get a chance, and take care.